All right, this is Volshock. We're going to be doing a replay review for our red player right here, whose name I'll probably butcher, Jeoshy. So your Frontline on ATG, right? So your lane is going to roll kind of like this, which you're familiar with. You're going to fight against Jaws here. It's a relatively equal lane, right? ATG has kind of like strong side, weak side dynamics for the canyons, but where your lane is, it's just a straight shot all the way down the road and you're good to go. So relatively standard glitters game. Let's see what's going on. We've got core. You're going to go triple mechs into solar. I'm on board with this. I like this so far. Wind is high, so after your solar, you're going to go double wind. Awesome. You're going to go bot lab, which is interesting. We don't see it on ATG a lot, but if you're going to do a tempo build, I think that's completely fine. I think you can also do kind of the standard open bots and then do a frontline V switch later. So we get it out. You've got tons of stuff queued. Perfect. I like everything I'm seeing so far. Wait for the spin up time, then build the windmill. I would actually, in this, even though you want to build the other ones here, you have like a full E-bar. I would actually boost your con. And then as soon as you run out of energy, then go back to building like either solars or wind. But you want to get the con out as soon as possible because like, even though wind is at 16 right now, like once you get this guy out, that's another 7. Well, it's not showing it. That's another 7 energy a second you get just from having the con, and then he can go start doing all the other stuff. So you're going to get the second. All right, and then you're going to boost. We're going to burn through a little bit of E, but this is perfect. Your team's overflowing into you. You're going to start con turret, which I think is a little greedy unless you boost it with your com. Okay, perfect. So you drop the blueprint with him, and then your con is going to go here and tap all of that. I like that. I think with bots, you definitely do need a lot of BP, so I actually don't mind this as a start. You're going to get out a grunt. I would probably send it to the front. You also don't have, oh, you do have radar. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So you've got radar. You see the scout. You've got the grunts here. And you can send him up to the front. He's got there. What's in our queue? Gonna get another con. The thug angle is a little interesting, but I think that can be a personal preference thing. We'll see. Grunts are chillin'. So I think there's kind of two schools of thought here, right? You can either have these two grunts guarding this con, or I think you can also just send them. And in my opinion, because you have the radar here already that's covering this, I would probably just send your grunts, because having your grunts be reactive is okay. Like if you see a rover or something coming, you can run over and try to intercept it. But a lot of times the better thing is like if you're the aggressor and you come here, and we don't know what's here, right? But like if you're here and they had units coming, they're like, oh, we need to come back and intercept these units. And so by attacking, you actually are able to just like gain more map control, because if they had units that were coming, those units can't attack anymore. A lot of times they need to drop back and fight and intercept your units. And so even if you don't like end up fighting or killing those units, like you can run like this and then run like that and then kind of run back like this. If the units are chasing your units at the same time, he's still protected, right? But one of the big concerns is like, if you're here, you don't know what's in front of you. So for me, I would say that's the school of thought that I would follow, where you end up being more aggressive with them, but you can also have them, you know, just defend your con and then get other grunts or other scouting units out sooner. Okay, he's going, and you're going to comm walk. So great fundamentals here, right? You've burned up basically all your metal, and you're going to start walking your comm forward. You're going to go straight for your high value 3-2 mechs. Good so far. I'm a little concerned at your lack of units. Generally speaking, when you play bots, you want to be like way more up tempo. So if you had like 5 grunts and you could be running, granted, I don't know if 5 grunts would do anything in your lane. So your opponent, for whatever reason, somehow is arm bots. If you had 5 grunts, you could just kill everything he has, because you can just kite pawns with grunts and just kill them. So if you opened 5 grunts, you could just come in here and literally kill everything but his commander until you ran into LLTs. So that's just another thing there. Even just with your 2 grunts, you would have been able to do an insane amount of damage. Never underestimate how much damage even just a couple grunts can do. And as a general rule, when you play bots, you're playing a tempo style, right? So you want to be aggressive. You want to push up, right? You want to try to get like reclaim on their side of the map. Like ATG doesn't have a ton of reclaim, but I mean, it still has like, you know, in your lane, that's like 300 if you include some of the other stuff there, right? Like if you could secure all of that, that's that many more units. And if you can, you know, deny them off as 3-2 as long as possible, it's great to do that as well. So that's why I would say maybe just try to be a little bit more aggressive at the start, but that's fine. Where's your radar end? I would almost drop another radar. Well, I guess you could drop a radar on this side, but never underestimate the power of radar. Early e-storage. I would argue this is maybe a little bit too early, but if you want to do good frontline comm play, it's nice to have, and your entire economy is wind-based. You also ate your B solar, which... So I'm not sure when you ate this, you may have been M-stalling, but I don't think there was a reason to, because I think you've been relatively high metal most of this time. I think it's better until you're completely M-stalled to leave your B solars up, your basic solars, because like here you're already M-stall or you're already E-stalling. So it'd be nicer. And don't be afraid to spam more cons, right? Like cons are 7 energy a second. So when the wind drops, like the wind's at 8 right now, that's basically a con. So, you know, if you have more cons, you definitely have a little bit more of a buffer, and you can keep some B solars until you really need them. Okay. Coming up here, I would probably drop, well, yeah, take the 3-2 and then LLT and then radar. Perfect. No comments there. I would just say these guys need to go do stuff. All right, you're alternating back and forth. I like that your comm comes up to the 3-2 here. One thing that I would maybe say, and like if you had your grunts up here, you would know, but mexes pay for themselves so quickly, right? Like this is a 3-2 mex and it's 50 metal to make a T1 mex. There are situations where like it might actually be better for you to run up here and instead of taking that, drop an LLT here and try to secure this one. Because like, even if you only hold this mex for like 20 seconds, you actually come out ahead, right? Like 20 seconds is whatever, 60 something metal. And it's only 50 metal to make it. So, and if you can actually hold that and deny it, I think it's better. So even though you got to your 3-2 mex here, like we don't know what's here. If your grunts were aggressive, you'd know what's here. But yeah, so his commander isn't on the front. Literally here, if you just walk forward and put down an LLT, you can just deny him his 3-2 mex. You can hold the 3-2 mex, deny him his own 3-2 mex, and just out eco him. But because you don't have the vision and you didn't see what's in your lane, you don't do that, right? So you're going to hold your 3-2 and you're going to let him take his 3-2. And I think that's just a common thing. Like when you play the map a lot, you get used to like, okay, here's the front line. Like, let me get to the front and set the front. And if you just walked forward literally that much, like if this LLT was here, you'd kill his 3-2. You would just deny his 3-2, right? And that's such a massive advantage. Like if you think about it, like if you guys take all your mexes, you're equal, right? But if you deny the 3-2 mex, like that's probably 10% of his income gone. I think normally when you take all the mexes, you're at like 20 or something. Oh, it'd probably be more because you're already at 16. But still, like, if you deny the mex, he loses 3-2. If you take the mex, you gain, like the total imbalance is like 6-4. So way better if you can actually just move up and take that at the start. But part of that is just goes back to your usage of grunts. All right, and you're going to swap to thugs. Now, thugs are awesome. I think generally it's better if you want to actually thug walk if you're on uneven terrain where you can like abuse LOS. You really need rocket bots if you're going to fight into vehicles. Thugs really struggle versus vehicles. However, this works out okay for you because your opponent is armed bots. If your opponent was like Janice Whistler, it's impossibly hard to fight into it with thugs. You just get kited and chipped apart. But here it'll kind of work well. All right, you drop nettles. I like it. Keep in mind the other thing you can do is just make trashers because they can move, but either is fine. I mean, dropping the nettles I think is a completely good response as well. You're not going to get two, so you won't kill this, unfortunately, because whirlwinds are giga tanky, but it still works. Your comm is idle here. Always try to have like really long queues, right? Like you had a good queue where you're like, all right, build that, build that, build that. And then you can literally like, okay, build this, build LLT, take both these mexes, you know, whatever, build a, like just have like a really long queue, because in times like this where you panic and you're like, oh my God, I'm getting bombed. Your APM goes here, right? Like here's where your cursor is and you're distracted. It means that because you didn't have a long queue, your commander isn't doing stuff. One of the cool things about bar is like, it is awesome quality of life, right? So like you can literally issue build commands for your commander to keep him occupied for like 30 minutes. Just be like, build LLTs, build mexes, build a forward vehicle lab, build anti-air, right? Just like always get in the habit of doing that so that when this happens and you're like, oh God, I need to focus and spend APM here, you don't have idle units. Is your air player just, okay. Aggressa the D-gun god. No fighters, but that happens to the best of us. That is a little brutal, I'm not gonna lie. So you lose some there, and you've got your thugs. Key point here, right? In terms of when you go thugs and when you go rocket bots, just as a general comment, right? Rocket bots have more range, and generally speaking, they're better versus vehicles, better versus pork, and they're better on flat ground. Thugs are tankier, right? And they do more damage. They're better at like hitting other units, but the main strength of thugs is that you can repair them and they're just like unkillable. So, well, not unkillable, but much more difficult to kill. So when you're doing like a thug mix like this, try to do like a 4-to-1 or a 5-to-1 thug to resbot ratio, because you need resbots repairing these. Thugs have super low BP. It's only like 1970. It's the green number there. So when you repair them, they repair really quickly. And that's why they're awesome, like kind of skirmishing fighting units. But to really maximize their strength, you need to play into that, and you need your commander just like repairing. And still spamming wind. Okay. Also, I didn't mention it, but this is great play as well, where you split cons. So you had a con taking mexes. You had two sets of cons taking mexes. I would recommend doing that in all your games. So, I mean, you have a lot of really strong core fundamentals. You talked about your T2 transition, so I guess we'll see that. You need more LLTs. Oh. So you should really just kite the pawns. Like if you were just running back right when they came, you'd run back to your LLT and kill them. But you always want to be repairing. Thugs are also amazing at killing commanders. All right, so they're coming in. Oh, can we degun it? Oh, you're going for it. Beautiful. Nice. Okay, and your thugs are shooting the commander. That's awesome. That's what you want to do. Why are there Centurions? Okay. So you're doing good, right? You're abusing the thug versus Centurion range. And can we repair? So when you're doing these fights, like you outrange them, just back up and then use an F command so that you're out of range, but they're not, and then you can just hit them. And you're repairing. You did a repeat area command. Beautiful. Good job. Okay, so your micro here is good. I would say in addition to your commander, just have like another resbot so you can either res the other units, repair, or eat metal when it happens. These mexes I would also just try to take as well whenever you can. And this goes back to, this is yours, right? And he's just chilling here. This goes back to really long queues. Like you can literally just be like, and then like, you know, get me converter, get me a nano, you know, get me whatever. I would probably go a frontline vehicle lab actually. So give me a frontline vehicle lab, right? Just have a super long queue so that this doesn't happen. And this doesn't happen, right? Because both these guys, I think, are just chilling because they got some X's that other people had already claimed. So Another good thing that you can do is if you have a long queue and you're like, I'm not sure what I want to do with them after, just hold shift and rally them like to your commander. And then inevitably, like you'll look back at your commander, because you always look at your commander, and then you'll be like, wait, why do I have 2 cons here? Oh, and then you can like send them back to do something else. I would say, because the wind has been a little bit of a cruel mistress here and you're already at this, I would maybe, and you have the metal, I would probably consider dropping like an A solar just to have it. And then on your front line, I think it's always good to try to get a jammer as soon as possible, because a lot of times you need it for certain plays. Okay. You're going to bully. Beautiful. Kill the LLT and then back up. Repair. Oh. Wow, okay. I feel like you need to do that. All right, so this is good. You're still kind of chipping away. You're going to keep the grunts farther back to raid. This. Oh, you're taking it now. Beautiful. So just take these, right? Always just take those. And like later, you'll never be at the guy who's like, WTF, my Max, I hate you, you know, and then you just like give it to him after 25 seconds or whatever. I guess like, whatever, 30 seconds. Like after 30 seconds, it pays for itself, and then you can just trade it over to him and it's fine. But whenever there's uncapped mexes on the map, you always want to try to take them. Okay. Ooh, that was a good D-gun. All right, other thing. It's 6 minutes. In terms of normal like things, I generally say you want e-storage around 5 minutes, and then at 6 minutes you want to start looking at your techer and you want to be like, hey yo, where am I T2 at? So you have the metal, right? If you can pay for your T2 ASAP and get it here, that's like the most critical thing. I would say, because you're pushing, maybe you don't want to stop T1 unit production. But there's a lot of times when you're on the front where like, if you're not going to win your lane immediately and you're not going to lose your lane immediately, the best thing to do is just like eat your T1 lab and just have a T2 con just upgrading everything. But you're going to do some damage with the thugs. Beautiful. Minor thing here, try to set target. You're issuing fight commands, which I think is completely fine, but try to set target on low HP ones so that you can like snipe units. Doing great with your repair micro here though. All right, you've got that. So this is awesome. I think you did an attack command on this. So 2 comments on it. One, I would say a set target command's probably better, so that like the guy who's farther in back, you know, like if there's something he can't hit, he'll shoot something else. Just like in general, unless you're like suiciding in to kill something, use set target. This is a great decision by you, because for a couple of reasons that I just want to highlight for anyone else who's watching the video. So a couple of things. First, whenever a unit is attacking, the amount of experience that it gains is proportional to the resource costs of the unit that it's hitting. So for example, when thugs are shooting pawns, thugs are worth more than pawns, and pawns are super cheap units, right? And so there's not a big indifference. Like it takes forever to level a thug up off shooting pawns. Commanders are really expensive units. So when a commander is shooting, or when a thug is shooting a commander, you actually gain a ton of experience. So when you're on the front line and you're in these situations where like there's like a bunch of nanos and they're like repairing an LLT or something, and then you're repairing an LLT here, and it's like no one is winning. One of the best things you can do is target the most expensive unit in the fight, because you're going to get more experience quicker. And then as you get experience, you get more health and you get faster reload, which increases your DPS, which means you can win the fight better. So great idea to target the commander here, first for that reason, but also just if you're in this situation, again, the most common time it happens is when it's like Whistler versus Whistler, where nothing is going to die, right? It's like 8 Whistlers versus 8 Whistlers, and the commander's just sitting there repeating. Move forward and just start shooting the commander, and you end up ahead because you get more experience. All right. Second reason why it's awesome. Your commander is the enemy commander is always the main source of BP, primarily for like repairing on the front. So if you shoot him, it means that he'll have to back off, and then he won't be able to repair units on the front as much. Alternatively, even if they have a con, cons have like no BP, right? They have 80 BP, so it'll take a long time to repair it. And then if the con is repairing, it can't be doing other things. So great targeting the commander here, 1 for experience, and then 2 because you want to try to drive away their ability to like repair, reclaim, etc. So awesome there. And a lot of times people will just have like, they won't even have a con on the front. And so if you get their commander low, they just have to pull it back, and then you just can kind of like crush the lane. But good job here. Is he not going to run this calm? Oh, if it pops, it's bad. All right, that's the third reason why it's awesome. If you kill it, you can do that. All right, beautiful. So what are your first thoughts when you kill a commander? What should you do? Your lane is looking relatively open, and I think sometimes this can be a trap for people. The most important thing, in my opinion, is to secure this reclaim, right? If not for you, then you can just give it to your techer. Also, we didn't get T2 yet. Okay. You know, like your techer will absolutely love that. Or just because you're like the highest OS player, maybe you'll be able to use it better. You can eat this, you know, and then turn it into whatever you want here, right? You could build A-Solars. You could build literally whatever you want. Speaking of which, because of that bombing run, I feel like you're pretty far behind in terms of energy. Once you have some E and some metal, we really should be dropping A-Solars, especially as core, because the core A-Solars are better, so that you're prepared for your fusion. You want like, I don't know, I'd say you probably, as a frontliner, you probably want like at least 500 energy a second when you drop your fusion. All right, so we kill the commander, good job. We start repairing, good job. And with our radar, we see vehicles coming in, which is a little scary. So you're gonna repair, you're gonna start reclaiming, perfect. All right, so all of this is looking good. Come up for D-guns. So, what? Okay, so I think that if you can't hold the metal, it totally makes sense for you to D-gun it. I think that you have 10 thugs here, right? I think you could totally put those thugs like here and put your commander here and just eat more of it. I don't think you needed to like Rambo your commander forward and then D-gun the wreck kind of because you panicked. It's totally fine for you to be here and like go like that, because like even if he charges, there's only 2 Janus, right? So the Janus are a concern, but if your commander is farther back and the tanks come in, you can D-gun most of those. And as long as the Janus can't get to you, you'll be fine. Like your commander will kill basically all these vehicles. You're only really concerned about the Janus and the Centurion because it can kite you. So I think instead of doing what you did there, I probably would have been like, had your comm there and eating that. Wait, why don't you just have your thugs come down and kill? My dude. We need our T2. Okay. So you killed the enemy commander, right? And even more awesomely, your ally came in and started raiding like this. And you see some radar dots here, like light blue was here and teal came over to help, and green has some stuff, but green probably shouldn't have too much here. But you see all of these units going to respond to this raid. You still have a massive army, right? You can totally just keep pressuring. I feel like you kind of backed off a little bit prematurely. Where are we going? Nice, 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 good. All right, I think literally your biggest issue this game is just T2. Like, if green is paying attention at all and he has T2, oh, he's just gonna go T2. So he's about to drop 2,900 metal into a lap. You should be able to just slow push him and take all these mexes, and you'll just be massively ahead economically. And if you had gotten your own T2 con, oh, here it comes. Good, good, good. Once you have your own T2 con, you can up your own. And people love to have this concept of like, oh my God, there's 1 or 2 hounds on the field. It's over. We lose. If you just build a vehicle plant right here and you make like 25 brutes and you just run like this, you just win the game, right? Hounds are scary when they can kite, but if there's not a commander to D-gun stouts, you can just, or D-gun brutes, you can just win by brute forcing through. So yeah, all right, your T2's here though, and I like that. My only other comment would be I would build like 5 T1 cons to follow it so that he ups all your mexes faster. We're gonna start pushing. You need your commander up here. You got res bots, awesome. Good job, good job. Try to set target, but you're still killing all this stuff anyway. Perfect. But yeah, definitely try to do more set target micro when you can. Keep pushing. It's a little concerning that nothing else is there. Okay. You're gonna take this max, beautiful. I would argue you need your commander on the front here. And you just need to keep shoving. What is your comm? Oh, you're healing him? I would say you want him up here, but this is good. All right, you're still pushing. You've got these. Let me go back and look at what's happening here. Okay, so you dropped your first mechs. So generally speaking, you'll have like BP in your base, but you want to up all of these mexes, right? Because like if you think about upping all of these mexes, you're like the metal increase is just so massive that getting it as soon as possible should really be your primary focus, right? You have tons of T1 mexes beyond just the starters. So you want the BP on it, right? That's 20 metal a second. If you upgrade them all, that's 80 metal a second. So drop some T1 cons to follow him. And also you want a longer build queue. Okay, cool. You're building that and then going fusion. I think I'm okay with that. You're a little low on energy maybe, but could be good. Okay, beautiful. You need your commander up here for a couple of reasons, and you probably want a con up here. You want to take all these mexes, and you want to eat all this reclaim. Your resbots might be able to do it, but I think you still... Oh, wait, we are going way too far. Whoa, 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 whoa. Where are we going, dude? Okay, so you have an awesome situation, but you're kind of like throwing away your awesome situation. So let's review, right? You essentially won your lane. You killed the enemy commander. You killed a bunch of his units. You won multiple engagements. You ate a bunch of the metal. Check. Awesome. Perfect. We like this. However, you're about to march your winning army down towards his base. And you want to pressure, right? Like I said, you want to go this way, but you want to pressure. You don't want to commit. You don't want to commit for several reasons, right? First of all, if you're playing versus a competent air player, all of these units are just going to instantly get stunned by Shuris, right? Like this guy's, I mean, he's only 17 OS, but like as you start to play with better air players, literally you'll be like, oh my God, I'm going to raid. Yay. And then they just get shut down by Shuris. Instantly shut down. It's just a complete metal donation. So if you want to push, your commander needs to be with them so that he can drop nettles. But because your comm isn't here, you can't push this. The other issue is that no one else on your front line is pushing, right? They're like, these guys are actively losing. This guy, he's chilling, right? He's in full chill mode. And this guy has an agitator. So he's got two oh my God. He's got the trifecta of agitation right here. This is amazing. Lord. Okay. So if you push here, what do you think is going to happen, right? Like, let's say you push really far into here. Your army, which was winning the lane, is going to get collapsed on by like every single person in the game. And so instead of you being in a 1v1 that you're winning and being able to take all these mexes and generate income and then keep applying pressure, you're going to run forward and you're going to get absolutely murdered by like 5 people. Most likely, because no one else on your team is applying pressure. If other people are applying pressure, it's different and you can do an aggressive move like this. But because no one on your team is doing anything aggressive, you can't make this move, unfortunately. You could make a similar move if you just send like 10 pawns in because they're faster, and if you throw them away, you don't care. But this is your main fighting force, and if they run down and die, it's a pretty scary metal donation. So what I would say instead in this situation, what you would want to do is take all these mexes, right? Or as many of, I mean, you probably can't hold these, but you could probably take like his 3-2 and some of these. And that gives you an even bigger economic advantage over green. And then I would say try to pork here a bit and go attack this guy, right? If you guys go over here, it's like the same situation that happens to you, but it happens to him. Like he still has some brutes that he can send. his agitator can be shooting at the stuff that you're going to get vision for. This dude can walk his comm up. So like if you want a comm bomb, like if you want to comm trade and kill all this, his comm will be there to pick it up, right? So instead of you putting yourself in a potential like 1v4 situation, just go over here and take the actual 1v3. Like these guys don't have a lot of units, but you might as well just come over here and utilize what they have, because that's a much safer play to make than trying to like force thugs down a lane that probably has Shuris and you have like no vision in. Second, you want to be eating or rezzing all these. It looks like you're maybe going to do that now, but so much of bar is like reclaim control, wreck control. So when you're looking at this, right, like there's 800 something. Well, I guess there's some over there. Hold on. There's like 700 metal here. Don't have your army move forward until you've reclaimed like the vast majority of this, unless you're sure it's safe. And it doesn't look safe to me. So instead, come up, take all these, eat all the metal here, go over there and 1v3 that dude. Okay. We need, all right, so the grunts for raiding, I can get behind. You're going to up your mexes. All right. You're feasting, right? You're just like absolutely eating all this wreck. You have a ton of metal. You need way more BP, right? I would say you might even want to drop like a few A-solars. I would probably get more nanos or something. But like when you're in these situations where you're like, oh, I got a lot of energy. Oh, I got a lot of metal. Just means you need BP. So just make BP. Okay, so you pushed forward and now you're going to get collapsed on by him. But I think you win this fight. Let's see. All right, so the big threat is the Janus. If you can degun those, you're completely fine. Ooh, taking some shots. Okay, you still get some pretty meaty deguns. I like that. Now there's even more reclaim here. Oh, you lost not all your res possible. Okay, so now you're eating a bunch. This is awesome. You're actually about to overflow. And you are at a ton of metal. You're going to make M-Store. I am against this for a couple of reasons. There are some games where you can say like, yes, I'm the red player. Maybe I'll use it better. Maybe I'm saving for something. Like, I guess you might want to save it for a fusion. But in the vast majority of games, it's not a good idea to hold this much metal this early. Give it to someone on your team who can use it. Like, your Techer has almost no metal, right? He's like still upping his mexes and doing everything else. Just give him 1,000 so that you can jumpstart his economy. Because if he gets like an APHIS or something else up soon, then you're in a better position as well, right? I think trying to hold that metal is not the right call. Oh, does he want? Wow, that was a juicy D gun. Awesome. Okay, perfect. So you did that. And now you can eat all these. I would still try to take these mexes. Even though your comm's low, you can probably have them up here and you want to take these mexes. There's so much metal to be claimed here. All right, blue's pushing. I feel like you literally kind of lost this game just at the start by delaying your T2 con for so long and then by not being aggressive here, but I guess we'll see what happens. It's still anyone's game, but let's see what's your... So you guys are ahead on energy and... Oh, you're behind on metal, but you're ahead on energy. Okay, and now you're gonna start taking mexes. Cool. I wouldn't say exploiters are worth it at this point because they're a lot more metal and there's tons of stuff on the field that can kill them. Like all the artillery that you see firing here is just going to kill that exploiter. And green doesn't have any units and he hasn't had units for a while. Whenever you're like pushing a lane like this and you're like, oh yeah, I killed his Centurion like a long time ago. He doesn't have any other units. I'm winning. Generally speaking, that means that they're doing something nefarious, right? This guy went T2. He's upping his mexes and now he's got hounds out. So just because he doesn't have units doesn't mean you're safe, right? Always try to keep track of like what your opponents have. All right. The fusion before T2 is greedy, but I don't mind it here as long as you immediately steamroll with like T2 after. But I think that's definitely a question that a lot of people have is like, when do I T2 lab? When do I fusion? If you can get away with it, like you can here, going for the what? Oh no. Okay. Going for the fusion before the T2 lab is a great play that'll let you get ahead in your lane. Going T3 here is kind of an active throw. Generally speaking, you never want to go tier 3 until you're at least like 100 metal income. You can get away with it on some maps, like if you're trying to do like maybe a Mara rush or something, but you're not going to have the income to get out like enough Razors or Vanguards or whatever to overpower anything. And the scary thing is that like this guy already showed arm bots. Think about what you would want to build. Like he's T2 arm bots, right? Which means you're gonna have to deal with snipers if you show T3. I mean, he'll probably make snipers anyway, right? So to be able to really push this lane now, you're gonna need a Vanguard to kill the snipers, and then you're gonna need Razorbacks on top of it. That's like 6,000 metal, right? You're at 50 metal a second. That's gonna take forever, right? And even if you just go pure Razor right here, you're really running a risk, because if there's snipers here, you just get rocked. And I mean, there's also like this guy's armed vehicles. Someone over here is like core vehicles. Like if you just run into like Banishers or Starlights, your unsupported Razors can't do anything. So I would say the much better move here is I would go fusion, like 1 or 2 fusions probably, or I would just do like a fusion Q, another fusion, do some other stuff. Also, your team doesn't have anti-nuke. I would definitely get a frontline anti as soon as possible. But I think the better thing is up all your T1 mexes and pork your front, right? If you have just like one rattlesnake here, that rattlesnake is going to deny so much of the map, and it'll counter things like early Quakers, or like it won't necessarily counter a Tsar, but if the Tsar's unsupported, it can a lot of times keep it away, and then you can degun it later. But you really need T2 pork relatively early in your lane so that if you get pushed, you can fight it off. But then also having pork in your lane and having a T2 army means that like if you look and like he also porked your lane, you can be like, oh, let me go this way, or oh, let me go this way, right? But you need that flexibility, and that's why people pork their lane. Like if you watch like Austin or Mighty Sheep, they play this really annoying style where like their lane is this death trap, and you're like, man, I don't want to push this. And then they're given the choice where they can go, okay, I'm going to eco, right? Or they're going to go, oh, my guy over here is winning. And then they go through that lane instead. But I think that's a good habit to try to sort of mirror, is try to get your T2 mexes up as soon as possible and try to pork your lane. It's a little late for a Warden. Because like if you have a rattlesnake here, the rattlesnake just completely counters the hounds. They can do nothing against it. It just totally outranges them. Okay, so bare minimum is 100 metal a second. I'm going to assume that you just lose this game because you're going to get pushed by something and you don't have T2 units on your front. But let's see what happens. This guy, I talked about it before. He's going to try to up all these mexes without any support. This will take him a really long time. If you had a T2 bot lab, you could actually make Twitchers, and the Twitchers could move with him. You can also just make like even more T1 cons. All right, so this is good. You have him supporting. I'd probably make like 5, because you want this dude just moving as much as possible. And what you can do is like, after he starts this one, you just hit N and he'll skip and he'll move to the next spot. And then these guys can finish it, right? And then he'll go to the next one and you can just do it faster. So yeah, you have almost no units, but yellow is coming in to support you, which is nice. All right. You recognize T3 was not the correct call. Awesome. All right, let's take it back. Never mind. Never mind. Still gonna stick with my original statement. Did not work quite as well. I feel like the 2 major mistakes that I wanted to talk about we've already seen, but let me speed it up and see if anything else happens. So see how you guys are getting absolutely murdered by a bunch of artillery? That's why you want a rattlesnake, and that's why you need T2 units, because by the time this, right, don't try to build both at once. Also, if you're not using this lab, you can just eat it. By the time this guy comes out, he just won't be effective. There's going to be too many units on the field for him to fight. Oh yeah, and this is like Mauser or Quaker Bull. So if you have the rattlesnake and a jammer and maybe some other pork, you can totally, like, your rattlesnake will just kill most of these Quakers and you'll be fine. Oh, and fat boy. Okay. So yeah, like, they were in a similar situation to you, but instead of going T3, they went T2. A really important thing to also recognize with like T3 is the lab cost difference, right? Your T2 lab's 3,000 metal. Your T3 lab is 8,000 metal. So like if you were to put that into bots, right? That's like almost 4 mammoths. Well, it's like a little less than 4 mammoths, right? But like that's like 20 Sheldons. Think about how much scarier your lane would be if you had 20 Sheldons, or if you had like, you know, like just think about what that AK metal can be. And that AK metal could be like a combination of like Arbiter, Sheldon, you know, you could do like whatever, say 10 Sheldons, 5 Arbiters. You could have some Sumos with it. But you just need, like, if you had T2 units, you could totally fight off this that I'm sure is going to kill you. And if you had pork, you'd be fine too. So I think that's kind of like the biggest issue that I see in the game right now. Coming online at 20. So the tick spam kind of keeps them there. You get picked apart by fat boys. You don't have a sneaky Pete, so you can't really do a great. Oh, I missed your Razor coming to the front. Looks like he lost a lot of his health. Yeah, so this is the problem with the unsupported Razor, right? You can't. He needs other units with him, because if you try to push into this, you're just going to get killed by the combination of additional units. But we got Starlights. Okay, okay. So Razor Starlight can work as a push. You just need to keep your Razors there. All right, so hold on. Let's go back. So you're kind of all in on T3 right now, and you're trying to build other things. I would say you probably need more BP at this point, and I would say you always want to be trying to scale your E economy. Even if it's not like scaling a lot, I would still say like have multiple fusions going down, and then you can just have a smaller amount of BP on it, because you always need to be scaling. If you aren't scaling, you run the risk of just getting outscaled yourself. You don't need to like commit all your BP to building it, but if you're really microing the front, just like slowly scale on the back with fusions or whatever else you want to use. So do you remember before when I was like, versus a good air player, there's going to be Shuris? He finally figured out where the Shuri button is. So you sent the Razors in, right? And one of them was fighting, but he just brought 35 Shuris and he just stunned your Razors and then they died. And here's the scary part, right? They can either eat it for 4,500 metal, which is the cost of a fusion that you could have in your base, or they can res it, and then you're going to be fighting 3 Razorbacks instead of 1. Let's speed this up a little bit. Yeah, I think you guys are just going to get slowly outscaled now. All right, building an Aphis farm in back. I like it. When you aren't eating a lab, when you aren't using a lab, just eat it. Like, you probably could have eaten that, could have eaten that. You've got a ton of metal though. Here's the pork, my dude. And King is getting pushed because no one can really apply pressure. When you're in these situations where like your front starts to die, it's really important, like I said before, you just need to pork. You just need to start putting like rattlesnakes, pulsars, scorpions, or pit bulls, whatever they're called. Like, you need to start having some sort of defensive line, because per metal, pork is super, super strong, right? It's strong because it can't move. But if you can fortify your lane here so that it won't break instantly, it means your Razor can be over here, like helping kill the stuff that's killing your allies and probably ending the game. All right, and that's gonna be game. So you guys are now like incredibly far behind, and it's going to be very difficult to recover. Here are the res razors. So let me just pause it, and I'll probably just stop watching there. I'm not sure how much longer the game goes, but I think the big mistakes are things that we'd want to cover now. So first things first, when you're playing bots, especially on a flat map like this, you need to try to be a lot more up tempo. You probably could have done like completely crippled him early game if you had just sent your 5 grunts in and you had just started sniping his pawns, right? Because grunts outrange pawns, and even though pawns are slightly faster, 99% of the time you'll just kill all the pawns before they're able to even like hit you once. So with good micro, you could have just like basically crippled this guy's whole expansion, and or, you know, maybe done a little bit more damage to like his economy, because the guy didn't, your opponent didn't even have Shuris forever. Like if he had Shuris, it'd be different, but you would have done so much damage had you done that. I think your early comm position too was a little off. Like you ended up winning your lane, but you stopped here and there was nothing in front of you. If you had just moved like a little bit further, you probably could have held on to that 3-2 mech for much, much longer. Like you would have held on to it for probably like the majority of the early game, and then that would have given you even more units. I would also say probably just build more cons. Like, yes, nanos are more efficient, but it's always good to have like mobile BP. Your mobile cons can, you know, they can be building wind in back. When you get your T2, they'll follow him around and upgrade all of those. That leads me to the second point. I think you got T2 at like 9 minutes or 10 minutes or something. One of the very first things you should do, like as soon as it's like 7 minutes, like I'd say 6 minutes, you need to just try to send metal and get your T2 con. That's the single biggest improvement you'll probably make to your game. Like if you had a T2 con 3 minutes earlier and upgraded all of these mexes, you probably would have had the metal to just do whatever you want and win your lane. But the fact that it took that much longer, like Green lost the lane and had T2 mexes and T2 units before you did. Like just think about like how crazy that is in terms of a difference. So big takeaways: be more aggressive, get your T2 earlier, try to up all your mexes ASAP. I'm on board with a lot of your decision making. Like I think you have really strong fundamentals for a lot of stuff, but I think aggression is something that you would definitely want to work on there. When you get your T2 con, what you can do and what you did that worked pretty well is like you get your initial 3 mexes, and then if you're playing greedy, you can drop your fusion and then just have that same con go and upgrade all your other mexes, and you're completely fine. And then like you can get another, like you'll build your own T2 con later and you can keep doing other stuff, but that one fusion will power like all the other T2 mexes and like a lot of your frontline pork. Which leads me to the next point of you want to pork your lane, especially in T2. The push that basically killed you was a bunch of artillery units, right? You died to Quakers, Hounds, and Fat Boys, all of which are grossly outranged by a rattlesnake. So if you just had like a jammer with your commander getting ready to degun and then a rattlesnake with a little bit of support, the rattlesnake is going to clear all the stuff that you're fighting. Like you can probably have radar, you can have like grunts streaming in just to give you vision if they have a jammer, but a single rattle would have stopped that. So I would say those are kind of the things that I would focus on. Earlier T2, more aggression, porking your lane. And the T3, I think I talked about quite a bit in game. Don't go T3 unless you're at like 100 metal or if it's a really specific build. Here, I think you probably could have won and fought off that attack if this, 8,000 metal was just in units. Like when you got attacked there, imagine even just like a few spy bots, right? You probably could have emped all the artillery and then killed it with like fiends, or if you had anything else, you would have been able to do it. T3 is awesome if you have the economy for it, but the problem is the lab is so expensive that there's so many units that you don't have because you have that lab, right? Like, give you an example. That's the same cost as that lab, right? I guess it's maybe more energy, but that's 6 snipers and a Razorback. And if you just were to do it in snipers, Oops. Oh, I can't subtract. Oh, I can't. So there you go. It'd be 13 snipers. I'm pretty sure 13 snipers one-shot a Razorback. They do 2,500 damage. Yeah, you don't even need 13. Like, just to give you like an idea of the numbers. So that's it. I think I kind of rambled a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm tired, but I hope that's helpful. And next time when you do that transition, I would say just make bots, you know, do the standard like Spybot, Sheldon, Fiend, and then you can transition into like Mammoth, and then you can transition into T3 once you have a slightly stronger economy, but you didn't have the economy to go T3 here. And yeah, have a good one.